Hi, my name is Remzi Çelebi. I am a postdoc researcher from Institute of Data Science at Maastricht University. In this presentation, I will talk about metadata standards for the fair sharing of vector embeddings in biomedicine. This work is a part of a joint project with Maastricht University, University of Bonn, and King Abdullah University of Science and Technology. This work focuses on creating metadata standards for sharing embedding data. Embeddings are latent representation of a dataset and are often generated from image or text data, or relational and graph datasets. These embeddings are commonly used in many machine learning applications. It is beneficial to make these embeddings available to be reused. Currently, there is no defined standard on how to share these embeddings. Therefore, we propose metadata standards for sharing embeddings generated from various datasets. We also suggest sharing of an embedding for a single entity so that relevant set of data points can be queried. Embeddings are used in many machine learning applications. Embeddings allows us to transfer information trained on some task to another. The most common use of embeddings are for text data, in which each word is represented by a vector so that similar words in meanings are close to each other. Like the word vectors, images and the voices can be mapped in vector space and can be trained jointly to recognize a person in the video. In our method, we adopt the bioschemas approach to describe data and metadata for sharing embeddings. In this approach, we utilize existing schema.org types and properties and define which set of properties are minimal and recommended. We also provide an example of embedding metadata definition in JSON-LD and the proposed metadata standards in checks format. Schema.org is a community effort to describe the discoverability of web content. The community defined a vocabulary understood by all search engines. This vocabulary covers properties, types to define any content on the web. If data providers add such types and properties to their web page as semantic markup, their content will be discoverable more easily through search engines and through semantic search. Schema.org supports many different encodings, including macrodata and JSON-LD. On the right side, there is an example markup given as JSON-LD format, which defines information about a person. Google provides a structured data testing tool to check whether your data used the right properties and types. We utilized ML schema to describe the properties specific to machine learning method used to generate the vector embeddings. The ML schema ontology was proposed by W3 Machine Learning Schema Community Group. The ontology consists of classes, properties, and restrictions for representing and interchanging machine learning models and dataset and experiments. In ML schema ontology, there is a run class that defines the machine learning algorithm execution. The run class is associated with a task and implementation and parameters of implementation, representation of model, and model evaluation. This table describes the proposed metadata for vector embedding representation. We used existing schema.org properties and types whenever possible, included two new properties: embedding size and generated by. These properties, the properties with star, need to be provided by data creator. As data grows, using the whole embedding vector would be challenging due to the size and computational limitation. We also propose a profile for sharing embeddings of a single entity. Although an individual vector might not be useful alone, to be able to query a pair or a group of entities from a repository may provide some insightful information about how similar entities are and how they are clustered. This table lists our proposed properties for a single embedding vector. We propose following new properties to Schema.org for inclusion: embedding entity X coord, Y coord. These properties will be generated automatically based on the actual embedding during the data submission. While embedding entity property is used to link vector to identifier of entity such as drug, the X coord and Y coord properties can be used for visualization or clustering purposes via dimension reduction techniques such as TCN. In this slide, we give an example of an embedding metadata represented using the JSON-LD syntax. This example describes an embedding data that was generated on the drug bank knowledge graph using Trans-E model. We reused the dataset type from Schema.org to describe the embedding dataset. Properties such as ID, name, description, creator, and keywords are the minimal properties. The embedding size is used to provide information about embedding dimension. This property will be generated automatically based on the actual vector embedding during the data submission. The generated by property is used to link our embedding dataset to machine learning run conducted to generate these embeddings. For each embedding experiment, we define has input property that contains dataset having name, distribution, version, and URI, and hyperparameter settings to define the parameter settings. Finally, we might define some machine learning output such as model or model evaluation specified by some measure. In conclusion, we propose metadata standards for the fair sharing of vector embeddings. We have used existing standards Schema.org and ML Schema in addition to proposing new properties to be included to Schema.org. The presented profile can bridge the gap between the data and a variety of ML models and the embeddings created these models. Thanks for listening to this presentation. This work is supported by King Abdullah University of Science and Technology. If you have any question and feedback, please feel free to contact me using this email.